hey, this is one of those conversations I was super happy to have, because if I can share it with you the way that it came across, I think it's going to be really helpful for a lot of people. There's a pattern that a lot of us have that is a part of a programming that I would like to help detach my archetype of personality from. And it is, it's kind of twofold, okay? It's the association of pain and love, right? And somebody said to me the other day, so I'm not trying to be, one super dualistic here, right? But a lot of people I work with talk themselves out of their guts with reason, right? If they can't see a reason that is scientifically observable and obvious to them for their gut instincts, they will systematically, like they've been taught to do probably, and these are women, right? So they will systematically talk themselves out of their instincts with reason. And when they do that in relationships, there's inevitably a disconnection from self. There's going to be a disconnection from the other person, because to dishonor your own intuition and covered up with reason and make reason more important and valid than intuition, it doesn't leave somebody in their body enough to even connect to. If you're out of positions, okay, this is where I'll go with this. So the other day, I was working through something with a client, and I said, I'm really happy that you can see both sides of this and that you're like holding space for yourself, seeing her position, seeing your position. And she said, isn't that codependent? And I said, no, the thing is, right, when it comes to energy, the codependent is a codependent when they step out of position for the sake of somebody else. But if you are a person who is aware of codependent tendencies, but you can say, I am in my position, I am honoring my position, and I can see this person in their position without hopping out of my position to be in their position with them, then that is called healthy connection, right? Like that's a normal person who can go, oh, I'm in my position and I see you in your position and you're there and I'm here and we're separate beings, right? But they don't jump out of themselves for the sake of being in position on the behalf of somebody else, right? That's the work we want to get to. And this is where my client got to, where she was able to stay in position, but also honor this other person's position and let it be what it was, right? Without the crazy shame spirals about, well, this is weird or whatever it is, right? So, when I talk about what I'm talking about, I'm talking very much in energy, right? So this might seem like it's not connected, but I'll try to find a way to connect it. So my client says to me, different person says, basically, and this is, I read a lot about this in Imperfectly Sane, but basically, when he kicks me hard enough, then I'll know when I've had enough. And so my family, we would go to buffets, and every single time we would go to a buffet, it was the same exact conversation, and everybody would go, oh, I had enough. What they really meant was, I had so much I can't move and breathe. So enough was overly stuffed. Enough was so much that it made you sick. So my family's version of enough was actually like full of shit, literally. It was a full of shit version of enough. It was too much. Whereas a person who can honor their body and knows when enough is actually enough, not enough so that you're stuffed and you can't move all day, which is, different holiday. You can do that, whatever you want to do. There's a different consciousness that comes from that way of being. But if you want to have energy to move throughout your day and you're eating for that reason, you will have had enough before you get to the point of being overstuffed, right? So this is I'm using this as a physical metaphor for an energetic thing that goes on when she says to me, well, I'll know when it's time because they'll have kicked me hard enough, which is, these aren't her words, but there's another way to do this, which is because most people, the limit will keep getting pushed and pushed and pushed, right? First, it'll be like, the excuse will be, oh, he slipped, or, oh, he didn't mean it. There's always going to be an excuse, right? The more you tolerate a behavior, the more the behavior becomes validated that it's an acceptable behavior. And talking about not tolerating it is not the same as standing for yourself and legitimately not tolerating a behavior. So there's a way in which, my kind of archetypal person associates pain and love and thinks, oh, this is love. This kind of pain that I'm feeling, that I'll know when it's time to go. I'll know when it's time to get out of it, when it kicks me hard enough, when it hurts me enough. This is love. Like, we legitimately, on a core level, associate that kind of relational drama and disconnection with love. And then when we go, wait, I want something more from this. I want something more, but I can't understand what I want because somebody will talk you out with reason of your own intuition, right? So I'm gonna hopefully use these examples and crisscross this for you. But when okay, I'm not full, and I'm not getting enough in this relationship to actually keep moving and have the momentum. Actually, what I'm getting is overly stuffed, and you're just sitting on top of me and I don't even know what's going on here, even though you're running away from me. But energetically, I'm so full of your shit that I can't tell if I am wanting more, or if you're right that you give me everything that I'm asking for and I'm just insatiable, right? So a lot of times I will see women use this very masculine quality of reason to override their own womanhood. And they will have an intuition, ooh, I don't like that. I'm, as a territorial animal in relationship, if you are in relationship with somebody who triggers your territorial responses and your preferences, and here's the fun piece, people are oh, well, he's a nice person and she's a nice person, so it should work out. It could work out, but if you guys have different preferences for territory as far as space, you guys might just be a different breed of animal, right? So sometimes people just aren't compatible because they don't want the same energetic dynamic in a relationship. And sometimes when things actually feel incompatible, they're actually quite compatible, and they're kept that way based on their incompatibility because they have, opposite ends of the same kind of void, basically. So that incompatibility to them is actually the thing that keeps them together, because they're always trying to figure out how to be compatible, because they're used to that in relationships, instead of people who are actually healthy and understand how to be next to somebody who is compatible to them without having to fix the situation in order to be compatible to it. So, what normally happens for people is they do not get kicked hard enough. They just keep getting kicked harder and harder. And I'm not even speaking this literally, right? But if you are feeling even this micro trigger in your relationship and you're afraid to legitimize that and speak it and say, this is what's up for me, because you know the other person is going to talk you out of your intuition. It's one thing if this person loves you and is showing up for you in every single way, and they're saying, hey, you're a little loopy here, this is a blind spot. That's one thing. But if this person is not showing up for you really and talking you into believing that they are, and talking you out of your feelings that they're not, using reasons to back it up, instead of, you don't have to believe them, is my point. Your intuition is a much safer guide for you. And here's the ironic thing. In this dynamic, and in basically every dynamic that we could think of in this category, there's going to be some Germanic, crazy, or not Germanic necessarily, but some crazy, and I'm using that as an archetype for a reason, crazy ass type of woman who is a controlling nut job that we go, oh, if I have needs, I'm probably like her. We have this model somewhere who, oh, women's needs are unreasonable. I definitely had that model. Your needs are absolutely unreasonable. And it was both ways. Like, my mom had that projection toward me, but also I would be like, it is insatiable, whatever you're after. Like, I don't understand what this thing is that you keep trying to get inside of me about. Like, it was an insatiable thing. So, and she tends to control everything in situations. So everybody around her feels it. And that was a model that I didn't want to replicate. So when I am in relationship and I go, oh my God, I have a need, maybe I'm just that controlling psycho, right? I start to use my reason to talk myself out of my need. And that's something I have to catch myself with, because I'm not unreasonable in my needs, but because I've been taught that needs are unreasonable, I have to still work to question my own reality about, I'm actually being reasonable, right? Like, this is a reasonable need, but it still feels unreasonable to need it. It feels stupid and I feel guilty, right? And I feel like, oh my God, maybe I'm just being that controlling psycho, right? These are the patternings that are so subconscious, but they're in control, right? So there's a fear of having these needs and expressing these needs and being that woman who's unreasonable in her needs and just kind of like spews them all over people and expects that you're going to surrender to her asking for control. But that's not who you are if you are doubting whether your needs are legitimate or not. That woman who's like, I'm in control of this, blah, 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 she is not questioning whether her needs are legitimate. She is controlling. She's consumed with action about it, okay? You are not her if you have these, polarizing thoughts of like, is this need even a need? Don't talk yourself out of what you want because you think that you're the unreasonable one. It's very easy for somebody to make you think that. But the person who loves you would say, hey, I see that you're saying that. I see that you're feeling that. That's super valid. How can I support you in not feeling that and back it up with action? Right? Somebody who loves you would do that. That doesn't mean you have to know how to do that right now, right? I wouldn't necessarily have known how to do that before I was in a relationship with somebody who actually loved me and modeled for me what that looked like. And it was not easy to trust. I was like, are you like weak or stupid or like fucking with me right now? Like, what is happening? So being modeled, I know it is possible that there's somebody out there that would not go, oh, it's ridiculous that you feel that way. How could you even possibly feel that way? Let me give you all the reasons you shouldn't feel that way. Who would go, I see that you feel that way because I know you and I see you. And let me be with you while you feel that way. And let's do whatever we have to do together to make sure that we can transmute this feeling. That person's possible. But my kind of demographic will sit around toying with the person who's toying with them for years. Just sit around toying with it as like this distraction from true intimacy, because true intimacy is radically uncomfortable. So it's interesting because most of these dynamics really do play off of each other in the sense that you're probably only prepared for that level of intimacy. And that level of intimacy might be closer than any intimacy you've ever even had, but it can even be closer than that. If you're somebody who's like, oh my God, this is the best it's ever been, but I still feel like there's something more or something that's not right, like trust your intuition about that, because you're not going to make room for what's right if you're toying with what's wrong, trying to make it right, right? So having the association of pain with love and thinking, oh, well, I'm going to leave this situation when these micros become macro or when it really hurts me. No, dude, you can be in a situation in which you go, okay, I'm assessing the situations I want to be in based on what heals me, instead of going, well, I'll know when to get out when it hurts me bad enough. A lot of people that come to me are that person who go, I don't leave unless it's like obvious that I need to. And basically they get to control it because they'll have kept pulling the leash and pulling the leash and pulling the leash. And really they'll call me a controlling bitch for telling them like I'm standing here holding their leash, but they'll keep pulling it. They don't actually want to be your animal. They don't want to be next to you, right? But they'll tell you that you're the one controlling them when you have something to say about them, the reality that they're not wanting to be next to you, right? So a lot of people call that sense of distance love because that's what they were grown up modeled. And if you are wanting to kind of go behind the curtain of that and experience something different, as far as what's possible in intimacy and what it's like to actually be loved, so you can actually love yourself and love your life, there's another way to be. And it's really in the willingness to receive, which isn't easy when you're taught that what you do receive, you're going to have to pay, multiple times for. But really, I think most of the people who come to me, their work is in receiving and trusting. They've been talked out. I have an entire chapter on this in Earn Your Luck, like literally systematically been talked out of wanting. That they were literally taught it made them ungrateful. It made them selfish. Just the act. Don't even think about it, I would hear. Don't even look at it, right? Just the act of wanting was whipped, stunted, right? In these people, in my kind of people. And we bring that into relationship and we expect to be whipped for wanting. And then we don't want to stand for ourselves because we don't want to be whipped, but we also are left wanting then. But the person who loves us is going to want us enough to want us to get what we want, period. It's possible, okay? Don't stop till you get it. And don't talk yourself out of your intuition with reason constantly. It's not working. It's not working. It's not working. It's so much energy, such a leaky valve. Like, trust your intuition. Don't be crazy, obviously, but if your intuition is in there and it's about you and it's about your life and it's a personal preference, you can trust that. Don't let somebody talk you out of it. And I wouldn't even say, this is the danger zone here, because I wouldn't say make mental assumptions about other people based on your intuition and trust that. What I would say is if your intuition is speaking that this person is not a safe person for you, or this thing is a breach of a boundary for you, or this thing is a nails against the chalkboard to your personal preferences and boundaries, notice it, right? And make it about you, that your intuition says, I'm going to go the other way. And then do it. Don't look back and be like, oh my God, you're this horrible person, right? I'm trusting my intuition about who you are, mentally speaking. It's irrelevant. And when you trust your inner animal, it goes, all right, I'm going in the water that way. I'm not hanging around this dude. Not even thinking about this dude. As long as he's away, as long as she's away, I'm out, right? So I'm not saying sit around and ruminate about mental assumptions about people, whether you're right or not. That's still part of the mental aspect of trusting your gut. You don't need a reason to trust your gut. Your gut just moves in a direction, and when it's honored, you follow it with your mind. You don't make up reasons for it with your mind, right? So I hope this was helpful. There's a way that you can move in the direction of what heals you, and that then you choose that it earned your essence, that it earned the right for you to step into it and let it heal you, instead of kind of being this person who goes, well, I know I'll just move on to the next thing when this one kicks me hard enough. Like, we literally wait for it that way, right? And we don't know when enough is actually enough. We don't know from that place when enough is enough, because the stomach keeps getting bigger and bigger every time, right? It'll keep doing that. Same with your energetic things. Like, you ask You want to give space? Okay, give space. They'll take space. You want to give, money? Okay, give money. They'll take money. Like whatever it is that you're giving, they're going to take it. And if they're not meeting you back in the middle, you're just going to keep pushing those limits about what you think you're owed by them taking it. And you're going to stick around thinking, oh, they're going to give me all that back. And I assure you, no, the hell they will not. They won't give you all that back. And the only way to take it back is to actually like pause at your, whatever your limit is when you notice it and go, ooh, that wasn't cool. That was a limit for me, right? And don't let them talk you out of it. Like your limits are your limits. They're yours. They're nobody else's.